do the sex. Today's locker room talk topic is secrets of an unapologetic orgasmic woman. This one is going to be exciting, folks, especially women and vulva owners. This is one you do not want to miss. And my guest should be familiar to you if you have been listening to any of my past podcasts, especially in the last month. My guest is pleasure coach Ali Gomulka. And she joined me, it wasn't that long ago, maybe a month, maybe less, for the podcast, How to Have an Orgasm Without a High-Powered Vibe. And she is back to talk about being an unapologetic orgasmic woman. It's a mouthful, but it's something I think we should all strive to be. Ali, will you just take a second to refresh listeners about who you are and what you do?
Oh my God, it's so good to be back. God, it was such a juicy convo last time, and I really encourage those of you who are listening, if you have not listened to that original podcast, go and listen. That was juicy. I'm still getting constant messages and comments on that podcast. That was incredible. I am Ali Gomulka. I am, sorry, losing my voice, a women's pleasure coach, if you will, a women's pleasure igniter, unapologetic orgasmic igniter. I work with, helping women to, at the very basics, feel more pleasure, feel their orgasm without relying on a vibe, but to, which is what we're going to go into today, obviously, really unlock their unapologetic orgasmic state of being. That's what I do. That's my passion. That's what gets me wet and gets me up in the morning, and I'm so happy that you have me back on here to talk about this, because I can talk about this underwater, as I'm sure listeners know by now.
Yeah.
I live in Australia, so those of you who are wondering, what's this crazy accent? But thank you for having me back, lovely.
I am so glad you're here. And that's right, it is morning for Ali. It is evening for me, and our drinks are going to reflect that. I decided, because it's been a long motherfucking week, to have some wine, and about half of my bottle is about half of my bottle is in this. So I apologize, Ali, for however this podcast ends. And I picked this one for you, and I think hopefully at some point in this conversation, the listeners will understand why, for its name, which is Mind and Body. It's a rosé. Ooh. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the mind and body and what happens when it all comes together. Anyways, so I am drinking wine, and Ali, who has just woken up tomorrow morning. Ali is living in the future right now. It is tomorrow morning. So what are you drinking?
I have just made a kind of protein coffee shake, protein iced coffee, if you will, with some almond milk, some vanilla protein coffee, and it's fucking delicious.
Yep, her coffee to my wine. I feel like it's appropriate for what it's like when we get together. So, let's get to it, though. I'm excited about this conversation. Let's raise our glasses and let's get ready to talk about sex.
Cheers.
Cheers. I have been waiting for this glass of wine for an hour. Ooh. I was waiting for you, and I'm like, I have been such a good girl. I want my wine. So here it is. So Ali, let's start with talking about what might seem obvious to some folks, but what I don't think, especially for women and vulva owners, is truly obvious at all. What, by your definition, is an unapologetic, fully orgasmic woman? I know.
Ooh. Okay, this is my jam. So basically, the world can define orgasmic woman as a woman who has orgasms, and that's correct to some degree. But what I define as an orgasmic woman, what I help women unlock, what I talk about when I mean unfucking apologetic orgasmic woman, is a woman who is so deeply connected to her body, to her pussy, to her orgasmic energy, that she is alive with this energy, right? So, you know, back in the day when I was, as I've spoken before, completely dependent on my vibe, I thought in some degree that I was orgasmic because I could have orgasms by forcing it out with a high-powered vibe. But I was so dependent on that way. And again, let me clarify for listeners, I'm not here saying toys are bad. I'm here to help you feel more without it. But that was the only way I could connect to it. Whereas now, in the journey that I went on and the journey that I help women, is I am so fucking alive to my pleasure. And women who are unapologetic orgasmic women are so alive to their pleasure that they can connect to this in any way. They can feel this, they can drop into this, they are buzzing, they are pulsating, they're throbbing, dripping wet with their fucking pleasure. An orgasmic woman is a woman who knows what she wants, knows her desires, knows her body, knows what makes her feel fucking good, and isn't afraid to ask for it, you know, demand it, set the boundaries. That's the relationships, the sex that she cultivates. She is a well-fucked woman because she doesn't accept anything less than a man, a king that matches her desires and those boundaries that she has set within herself. An unapologetic orgasmic woman is a woman who is alive to the human experience. And this may be a bit, you know, kind of new age for people to hear, and I certainly didn't really understand, but she is alive to everything that's going on in her body. So back when I was disconnected from my pleasure, I was spent so much time in my head constantly overthinking. And like I always say, I'm still an overthinker. It's still a constant, you know, I'm not fucking perfect, but so much time in my head, disconnecting from my body, numbing out with drug addiction, numbing out with eating disorders, escaping my body because I didn't know how to be there when the uncomfortable shit arose, you know, the depression, the anger, constantly escaping my body. And then I would go into, okay, well, now I want to feel pleasure. Why aren't I fucking feeling it? And of course I'm not going to feel it because I'm so disconnected. And that's why I required the high-powered vibe and all of that. So an orgasmic woman is a woman who feels safe to be in her body through the uncomfortable shit too. She's not immune to the uncomfortable shit. She has the safety to stay in her body and be with the whole array of emotions. And that's why she feels her pleasure so greatly. And finally, I want to say an unapologetic orgasmic woman is a woman who is guided in life by her fucking pussy wisdom, her soul wisdom, body wisdom, whatever you want to call it. She is not saying yes to the things that fucking dry her up and have her body contract. She is expanding because she is following these desires and this guidance to create and cultivate this life that has her feeling fucking alive and full of pleasure. She isn't waking up every day dreading getting out of bed because she's living a life that she doesn't want to do. So an orgasmic woman follows the wisdom of her own body and her own self to know what she wants to do, you know, the things that expand her and light her up and make her fucking wet. That is an orgasmic woman to me.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked prior to recording about this. Like, I definitely get the eye roll sometimes when people say, Annette, why does it all have to be about sex? Why does it have to be about sex? And we talked about this in our last podcast. Women and vulva owners are taught that it's normal for us to not be orgasmic during sex. We are taught, and I was taught growing up, that only a very few women could actually have G-spot orgasms, that not every woman had access to that kind of pleasure, that not every, I mean, and so I just very quickly assumed that my difficulty to feel anything inside my vagina where there are so many nerves and pleasure spots, I felt nothing but pressure and sometimes pain. That's it. Now, I have always been able to make myself come clitorally, but it's interesting, as you and I have spoken, and as I've gone through my 365 days of orgasms journey, which has been transformational, to me, I am definitely not where you are. I recognize where you are as a place that I could be, because this journey has, I can now feel my G spot, my P spot, my O spot. I can feel like astounding pleasure internally that I could never feel. And do I think at 48 suddenly my pussy suddenly has new nerve endings? No. Like, we know that isn't true. I know that I was completely disconnected from feeling there, which is scary. It's scary to think that the way in which I was brought up, the way in which the society has taught me and treated me, made me, helped me, pushed me in the direction of mentally shutting down that whole area of my body. I mean, I could feel nothing, and that is real. Also, I think that to go back to your definition of orgasmic woman, yes, up until now, up until kind of this journey I've been on, I have been able to make myself come. But I think it's interesting, like, you can force yourself to come. And oftentimes it very much felt like I was like mentally straining to like get to that orgasm. It was like almost stressful for that relief. Right? Whereas now I'm actually learning to find that, I guess the only way I can describe it is the way you do, is the orgasmic energy, that pleasureful energy, and then I get to like ride it much like a surfer, surfing on a wave. Like it is energy inside of my body that I can ride and enjoy and not try to force.
And
go ahead.
When we're so used to forcing, and I know for me, because I could easily, like you, I could easily force it with a vibrator, super high powered. But what I had to do was learn to stop forcing and completely surrender to be able to feel my natural pleasure build. You were saying about, we're not taught, and that just reminded me. So I was on a live on TikTok the other day, and a beautiful young woman was asking questions, and she was, I can't remember what she said. She was 19 or 20, and she said, I've never known this, and I've always, I haven't felt anything. She said, do you think that it comes with maturity? Am I too young to learn this? And I was like, no, you are in the most incredible place. I wish that I heard people talking about this. I said, because she felt disheartened that she thought she was too young to awaken to this. And I said, no, this is stuff that I wish more young people were taught. I wish I was taught from a young age, because there would be so many, more orgasmic women in the world. But also, like we spoke about on the previous one, the more connected you are to your body and your orgasmic energy and your fucking unapologetic state of pleasure, the more you actually hold your boundaries. Because the more you don't let someone inside you physically and energetically who takes from you, and you're able to hold that. But yeah, it was really eye-opening to.
I think that let's stop there. This is a very important point. So what I want you and I to do, hopefully to draw to the listeners' attention, especially the skeptical listener. This is the point, and she just gave a good example of it. By denying women their ability to be fully orgasmic, society, the patriarchy, in my opinion, is actively oppressing and controlling women. Women who hold their boundaries. Women who only choose to do the things they want to do and the things that light them up are powerful fucking women. And that is by no means, at least here in America, how, I was raised. I was not raised to choose the things that lit me up. I was not raised to, to think of myself first and to make decisions from an empowered state, a state of like my own internal wisdom that said, says, do this, don't allow this person near you, that person makes you retract. Fuck. I mean, if women pay attention, I tell you, you run into the wrong person and they try to kind of come into your space, your clit will clench. You will actively kegel away from people.
Your pussy will contract.
Seriously.
It will close and you'll feel that, yeah.
I mean, your pussy literally says, "Get the fuck away from this person." And I do think that I've been wondering, like, why are we being told from such a young age that it's normal for us to not orgasm unless we have just a lot of clitoral stimulation. It's normal for us to be in this state where we are sort of letting our cock-owning partners just get the job done. Why are we're all so performative? I don't even, you must know the stat on how many women fake orgasm. I mean, it's a strangely universal talent that we all know. And that is an act of like empowering someone else with a lie, which is the lie of you're pleasing me and making me happy, even when we're just sort of grimacing and getting through sex.
But I think I don't actually know off the top of my head. I don't remember that stat, but I think it's because women they don't know that this is available to them. So it's right. Kind of, well, I just succumb to, I'll just fake it for my partner and I'll just bring out the toy, because I think women don't know what is available. And like you said earlier, you just succumb to that fact, and I succumb to that fact that, how I said last time, 80% of women in the world can't come by penetration, and that's not because their bodies aren't capable, it's because that they don't know how. But I succumb to the fact that, oh, well, I must just be that, because I didn't know that there was any different. I wasn't taught. It was only because, crazy sexuality leaders like me spoke so openly about this that I was like, I'm going to look into this. But I didn't know this.
But weren't you also told that it was normal for you not to be able to? Weren't you told, like,
yeah.
I was told by doctors, by the authority on my body, that it was normal for me not to. And I assumed I either didn't have a G-spot or my G-spot didn't work. Now, I have a partner who can find my G-spot in 0.0 seconds. Like the finger goes straight onto it. And the minute it's touched, and it's really not that far in there, I'm like, whoa, it's amazing. And I'm like, how the fuck is this just happening now? How the fuck? I mean, it's very clear where it is. And so for me, I'm really in this place of like, why are we being told this? And so many of us are living most of our lives thinking it's not available to us. And I think that when I watch your videos and I hear you speak about becoming, because I do think it is something maybe we're naturally born with, and this is where we're going to go next. But if we are naturally born with the ability, then it is somehow shut off to us before we get to maybe our fully sexualized age. Right. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, so why is that happening? Why are we being taught, why is that being kept from us? So what I want to talk to you about next is, why are so many women not fully realized unapologetic orgasmic women? What are the things that are keeping us from just being able to do that?
Well, first and foremost, like you said, that we're not taught this. So our first experiences, and, because we often as women, begin with this self-loathing, this body hate.
We are conditioned before we even get to the point of being sexual to hate our own body. We're told it's not good enough. We need to be this thin. We need to have, eyes that look like this, hair that, we're told we're imperfect. And this starts from the moment we come out of the womb, and And so what you're saying is, and I would say this is the case for me, is that then when we come to a sexual situation, just that discomfort with what our body looks like and feels like and is presented like starts to shut things down.
Absolutely. And old school porn is very much, to blame for a lot of this as well, because, men or, young teens, that's their first experience of sex because they're not educated, and women will see what they're watching and it's, these idyllic, female bodies. But I really love how these days there are more and more everyday people coming into it to help women growing up realize that it's not about being a certain size. I can enjoy sex. I can enjoy pleasure in the body that I'm in.
Right.
And it takes deep vulnerability to surrender to your orgasm with a partner. So the way that, so orgasm, as we've spoken about, is the energy in the body. In order to feel the full potential of that energy build up, you have to surrender and be fully in your emotional body. Or the only way you can bypass is the forcing and the adrenaline-based peaks, like with the high-powered vibrator. So you're not having to feel that vulnerability, you're bypassing with the adrenaline. That's how I used to. But to surrender to the full extent of your pleasure and your orgasmic energy requires deep surrender into that emotional body. Emotion is energy in motion. And that requires being fucking deeply vulnerable, being seen in your most vulnerable state in front of another. And if you're not feeling secure in who you are and you're, allowing, and let me just say, it's completely normal to have, you're never going to go through life. When I talk about this, it's not about being perfect and, I all of a sudden realize I love my body of every minute of every day and I'm just perfect. No, you're still going to have normal human thoughts. But it's about coming back to going deeper than that, not letting that rule you, not letting those thoughts in your head take you away from the pleasure in your body and have you feeling like you're not worthy to feel, and surrender to what the fuck is going on in your body. Like, I have the same shit. I still struggle with mental health, and I have the same shit that every other woman has. But it's just that I have the tools and I keep coming back and I spend more time coming back into my body and connecting to that. That's all it is. I'm no different to anyone else. I thought I was broken once too. I thought I was, a failure as a woman because I couldn't feel what I wanted to feel, all of that. But it's just this commitment to coming back and going deeper and not letting those surface level and the mind just stop you and disconnect you from what's going on.
Right. So you talk a lot about the disconnection from the body. Now, for me, that just makes sense because I've done a lot of work around my own disconnection from the body. One of the things I thought immediately when you, and I guess I always assume that other people know what it's like to be disconnected from their body, because most of us are at some point in our life. But I think especially women do a lot of escaping their body, feeling uncomfortable in their body, especially if they've experienced any sexual assault or sexual trauma throughout their life, which we know from statistics that an extremely large number of women have. So in order to be fully orgasmic, you're saying that reconnection has to happen. In your opinion, is orgasmic energy always present in the body? Is it always there? Is this an energy that's always there, just waiting to be tapped into? Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Orgasmic energy is the energy in your body. It's life force energy, and energy going into science and quantum physics. For those who, want to dismiss as new age, energy can never be created or destroyed. It's there. It's always there. This energy is always in you, always. And it shows up in different ways in different times. It may be your heart's racing, you're anxious. It may be that your heart's heavy because you're sad and you're struggling with depression. It may be whatever, but it's when you disconnect from that energy, and then, like I was saying before, you go into sex or self-pleasure and you go, okay, well, I'm fucking flicking the bean, or I'm shoving, trying to finger myself. Why am I not feeling anything? Because you've spent so much time disconnected that you can't feel the extent. And I know I certainly, when I started, exploring, going, okay, I'm going to explore without my vibe, it was like, I don't feel anything. Like you were saying before, I just felt pressure, and it was certainly not pleasurable because I wasn't fully there. And it took a lot of learning to be there, and learning to be in my body when I'm going through the uncomfortable shit. And when I'm, as I was saying before, I still struggle with mental health and depression. And what causes that to fester is, when you feel the sadness, right? You have the feeling, the emotion, the heart racing, or it could start with the thought. But let's just say, and then the thought comes, oh my God, yes, I'm so sad about this. And then it causes more heart racing, but you don't want to be with that heart racing. So you go back to the thought, yeah, oh my God, I'm so sad about this. And you're not connecting. Whereas you could end that loop by coming into the body, being with that energy and what your body needs to allow that energy to move. It's never about trying to force energy to move. Energy will move, arousal will build, pleasure will build, energy will move. It's about connecting to it. And it may be somatic practices, so body practices, which is, part of all the self-pleasure, but when you're angry, banging your pillow, it could be dancing, just moving, dancing, when you're sad and allowing that energy to move. These are all, just on the basic level, but these practices are teaching you to be in your body, and you start to feel more of what's going on. And number one, that energy will move and you'll be able to break the cycle. A lot of people think, well, if I feel the sadness, if I feel the anger, I'm going to be this raging angry person or this raging sad person. So I don't want to feel that, but give me the pleasure. You can't do that. But this loop can be broken by connecting to the energy and being fully present with what's going on in your body.
Right.
And that will help you navigate the shitty emotions, but will also help you start to feel more of the arousal when it builds, and you can be there with that.
Right. You can't really expect to know how to be present with pleasure when you can't be present with the hard shit, And I know from my own history with physical and sexual trauma, I learned at a very young age how to escape my body. I couldn't handle the anxiety. And I remember that was a skill I built at a very, very young age. And it is interesting, the idea that the orgasmic energy is always there, because I think maybe this is something that some of my listeners might relate to. Have you ever been sitting, it's the afternoon, let's say, and you start to get like aroused and horny, and you're like, oh God, when my partner gets home tonight, I'm going to fuck the shit out of them. And you're just like wet and you're ready to go. And then they come home and the time and the opportunity is there. And you're like, okay, I could go have sex. And your body just goes, like it's just like, nope, not into it. You dry up. You're not excited anymore. And I recognize that as we have this conversation, that when there's no pressure on me, when the idea of sex, when I don't have to really think about, I'm going to take my clothes off and you're going to see these imperfections, or I'm going to take my clothes off, we're going to go have sex, and then what if I can't come and it takes forever and blah, blah, blah. Like the minute a partner would be present and I knew I could get fucked, then my pussy was like, nope, the fantasy was fun. We were turned on, but I don't want to have to go through all of that, or I'm just too self-conscious. And then my body would just like shut down. And even if I did actually go into the sexual situation, there was definitely that shutting down. And I was like, why am I not aroused right now? Why am I not aroused? I've got this person. I can get banged. I can do dirty things,
And this just reminds me of, quite often, and people think, because I have incredible sex life, I am a well-fucked orgasmic woman, that I'm, always wanting sex. No, I still get in my head, like last night or the night before, for example, where I'm too fucking tired, I can't be bothered. And then I just come back to, what does my body really want? And I'm like, I fucking want my man. And I know that this feels pleasurable. And I surrender. And it's a little joke because I say to him, and I'm like, he'll take me, like I love it. But it's those moments where I still get that too. And it's, or I'm feeling, fat, I'm having fat days or whatever. And it's just coming back to, well, hang on, what is the truth in this moment? Not what my mind is trying to tell me. I'm too tired. It's been a fucking fucked day. I just can't be bothered. Hang on. What is the truth of this moment? Can I just surrender to feeling amazing and having this pleasurable, moment with my lover where we, both feel fucking incredible and expanded? Like, it's healing. It's fucking healing.
Well, cheers to surrendering when it's appropriate. I clearly haven't given over control yet.
Cheers.
What's happening? Cheers. And
I think I need to spike my iced coffee with some like Irish whiskey or
maybe.
something. Yeah, Irish.
I have not had a drink in quite a while because of some, what you said earlier about, women numbing themselves. And I've learned very quickly, if I want to have an orgasmic life, I cannot have a lot of booze. But listeners, when we get back, because we're going to take a break here, I'm going to talk about my weekend and how I felt too tired. I wasn't feeling great. I had a little cold. And my partner that I joined for wonderful sexual exploits and I are long distance. And it was the only time I was going to be able to see him. And I went there and then I didn't feel well and I did not want to fuck. I was pretty grumpy, but I did. And I am going to tell you about my experience and how Ali joined me in bed.
I'm so excited to hear this.
I mean, Ali wants to know too. It was one of those threesomes she just can't recall.
So, I love threesomes in all forms, even the imaginary energetic. So bring it on.
That's exactly what happened. And we are going to, when we come back, I'm going to share it with her. And I'm also going to share it with you and how this all ties into Ali and becoming orgasmic and so on and so forth. So we will be right back in just a few moments. Cheers. At the beginning of the year, I embarked on the 365 Days of Orgasms Challenge, and Fun Factory toys like the Lady Bi, a dual motor vibrator that hits my clit and G-spot simultaneously, have been making my orgasms faster, stronger, and way more fun. Here's the good news. Fun Factory makes tons of high-quality orgasmic toys that are both body-safe and eco-friendly, and you can buy them at a 20% discount when you use the code SELS20. That's right. Go to funfactory.com, and when you're ready to make a purchase, enter the code SELS20, or scroll down to the notes in this episode, hit the Fun Factory link, and when you're ready to make a purchase, enter the code SELS20. Then go enjoy your next mind-blowing orgasm. Cheers. All right, we're back. And as I promised you, upon leaving you merely moments ago, I'm going to talk about my weekend. So I'm at my partner's place, and I'd been very excited about it. We were going to have some alone time. So I thought, I brought the butt plugs. I brought the fucking rope. Yes. I brought we had the rope, the whips, all of it. I'm like, who knows what's going to happen, but it's going to happen, right? Wrong.
Fuck yes.
Wrong. I show up and almost immediately I had some little bug. It wasn't not COVID, but it was enough. I'm saying it was allergies. I think it was allergies because no one else has gotten it around me. But needless to say, I didn't feel well, and it came time to bang. My partner was like, hey, and I'm like, I just
get away from me.
Just couldn't. And we knew immediately it was not going to be the butt plug rope filled experience that we had hoped for. But he was very kind and urged me on, and I was kind of like, okay, let's just have I call it lazy sex, where, maybe I get out a toy that has some pleasure air technology and he puts it, one thing I have learned, that I do want to share with you as I work into this conversation about our threesome, is I have learned this. I can have multiple O's, but I can't have multiple orgasms without penetration and internal stimulation.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting,
yep.
right?
Awareness. Yeah.
I can't. I have to have that inside, one of the many inside spots getting like banged. And so, of course, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'd like more than one orgasm. And so he was very nice about it. Gave me it was a clitoral O orgasm. I say O because I've been on TikTok and they don't like me to say orgasm, and so I'm now learning how to do that. So I had my orgasm, but he hadn't had his, and I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to get on top and do my job. Now, this is where, you got to be fair, right? Yeah, especially because he had just been so wonderful to me. So I get on top of him and I start riding him. And this man has a cock that was literally designed. If I believed in a God, I would say God carved this cock to fit my body perfectly. Like it goes in and somehow it lights up all of the spots inside. It just does.
Yep,
Even when in my mind, I'm like, I really don't want to do this. Then it gets inside and I'm like, oh my God, why did I say I didn't want to do this?
Yes,
so
yes.
I start riding the cock. This is very personal. Oh, I'm so sorry, honey. But so I start riding the cock and suddenly I start feeling this feeling. Now, I've had and this is the weird thing. This feeling ignites a memory of me as a younger person. I had once had this, I lived out, I was raised on a farm, folks. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I had this jungle gym in my back field. I was on a sheep farm. That's right. That's how I was raised. And in the evening, I would climb up. It was very big, and it had this place I could climb up and watch the sunset. And it was like this very magical experience for me as a young person. And here I am starting to have this feeling deep in my vagina and this vision of this sunset that for some reason is so memorable to me. It was like a sunset where, because I was young and Catholic, I thought I was seeing God, comes into my head. And then as I see this sunset, the feeling inside my vagina builds. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on right now. It was almost like I was there. It was weird. It was like I was there, and then the feeling in my vagina built, and the vision built, and
wow.
and so it kind of freaked me out at first, and I kind of thought I'm being weird, and then I was like, well, I think Ali would be into this.
Bring me in.
I'm like, she's all about the breathing, and she said that you could drop into orgasmic energy by breathing, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna start breathing, because at this point now I'm like a woman riding a fucking horse, right? And seriously, I am riding this cock in a way that, and I don't know, I don't even look down at him because I don't want to break whatever this thing is, because I'm like, I think I'm about to tap into something. I think I'm about to have something happen. Now, he's holding on like a champion. And it keeps going and going,
I'm loving this.
And I have to keep bringing my mind back, so I keep thinking about the things that and you've demonstrated movement on one of your videos on TikTok, you did that, kind of how you can use movement. So, yes. So I'm referring to your videos.
Oh my God, this is fucking gold.
So this is how Ali joined me in one of the most crazy orgasm experiences of my life. I did not come to the top of it. I definitely was orgasming. I did not hit the top because my partner, rightfully so, had his orgasm. And I could have kept going. And he's really great about it. If he comes first, he will then use his hands, or he, get some of the glass. You have some glass tools or toys that you can use as well. But I was like, you know what? I think part of this for me is that I do think for me it can be different when there's a human body part inside. And I also felt like it was so intense. I don't know what that was all about. I feel like this is a very personal experience. I'm like, do I really want to share this? It was so personal, and it was so powerful, and it was a feeling. And look, guys, I've been doing my 365 days. I've had a lot of orgasms.
Wow.
I don't know what the fuck this was, but it made me think of you. I was like, maybe you can tell me what that is. What the fuck is that?
Do you know what? And you know what my response to that would be?
I want to know.
Was it fucking enjoyable?
Yeah, it was something. It was, yes. It was.
Was it incredible? Did you love it?
Yeah. I didn't want to leave it.
So then why do you need to label it? Why? And I feel like we get so caught up in, was this orgasm as good as this one? What was this? Did I reach the peak? Did you fucking enjoy it? Did it feel like incredible in your body and soul and mind? Yes, then forget about don't worry about labeling. It was an incredible experience. And I think, and orgasms can feel different at all different times. Yeah. And we can dismiss and go, oh, this one wasn't as powerful. So is that classified as an orgasm? Was it a build-up in your body of this energy? Was it this build-up and release, or was it this amazing experience? Then that's what it was.
Yeah, the thing that I think it was interesting how it like unlocked memories and how it tied into that whole, I mean, it really did. And I have to tell you, like, it wasn't just like a visual. It was fucking like, I felt like I was there, and I don't know how to explain it. It was really and I haven't talked to anybody about it because I think it has been so impactful to me. And and then I'm like, am I getting weird and woo myself? Like, what is up with like women? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
I unintentionally became apparently woo. I wasn't intending to this, but when you start accessing this and have these fucking out of world, time-stopping, dimension-traveling experiences, you're like, whoa.
It felt it felt like time travel almost. Like, I was like, I don't know. It was something so deep inside of me and it was really interesting to me. And I mean, maybe that's the point, is that when you start to reconnect with your body and unlock feelings and emotions and sensations that have been kept from you your whole fucking life, shit's gonna get weird.
Yes. And can I say, so our body, as I spoke about before in the previous podcast, our body holds the score. So we store emotion in our vaginal walls just as we do anywhere else. And this is why, women who have experienced sexual trauma, or not even sexual trauma, any kind of trauma or any kind of emotion, you can store this in your vaginal walls. And this can contribute to, sorry, there goes the throat again. This can contribute to parts of your vagina being numb and not being able to feel. And so this is the process of when, we get the glass wands, or you can do it with your fingers, it's just a bit trickier, of de-armouring.
What is that? De-armouring?
De-armouring. So this is the process of feeling in your vaginal wall, so kind of like yoni mapping, they call it. And when you come across a point of tension, you're just pressing on this and you're just gently breathing into it. You don't want to cause pain, and you just stay there until either the tension releases or that's enough for today. Now, when you do this, and when women are reconnecting, especially if women have experienced sexual trauma or anything like that, this can bring up some fucking emotion or old memories or stuff within the body, and that's completely normal. And sometimes, I'll go into self-pleasure where I'm exploring, and it ends up being that these tears just fucking flow. And I don't need to know where these tears are from. I don't need to know where this emotion is from. My only job is to be with this energy and allow this to flow as it needs to. And perhaps that you unlocked in that moment, you know, that connection to an emotion from that old memory. And that was beautiful. You just stay with that. And this is how you become this orgasmic woman. Even if in that moment it didn't feel wildly pleasurable, let's say, and like, you know, it became a sadness or whatever, it's staying with the body, building this safety to stay there, that we turn back on, you know, parts of us that may be desensitized, and that's what desensitized, and that's what de-armoring is. That's why I'm so passionate about the glass wands now. And if anyone wants to have a look, I've got links on all my social media profiles for the number one company that I recommend for these. And
go to her social media. You can share the name, but I think going to your
Yoni Pleasure Palace. But have a look. Go for my link because I've got a discount code on there as well. But there's glass wands, and then there's also crystal pleasure wands, which I haven't tried the crystal yet. Again, I tell women, you don't have to have anything outside of you to connect to this. I did this all with my hands and my fingers and my breath and my awareness. But could my journey have been probably quicker by, you know, using these tools that can reach in areas that I can't and awakening internally? Probably. And that's why I'm so passionate about them now.
Yeah.
But you can even connect those who are lovers of the energetic principles of crystals. There's ones that are great for trauma, or, you know, trauma that has been stored in the vagina, and this disassociation, and this creates this numbness. But yeah, what you describe is a very, you know, beautiful experience. You've tapped into some energy that was stored there from a previous memory, and that's just fucking beautiful.
It's interesting as I'm sitting here, I'm having giant feelings having shared that with you, just talking to you about it. Holy shit. You know, it's like big feelings. And then this idea of de-armoring, I'm getting a little choked up over here. It's very uncomfortable. I think it's, God, it is something to have such a personal part of your body.
Yeah.
Realize it's been, cut off from you. So, holy shit. Give me a second. Fucking, I'm not a weepy woman. I'm not a weepy woman, Ali. But no, it's
beautiful. Let that emotion be present.
And how do you explain to people? And people do. I know. My loved ones, my friends, people have known me my whole life as I've gone into this podcast, as I've gone into this work. I know they're just why about sex in it? And I'm because it is so vital to who we are. And so many women have, we've had it stolen, our sexual power, which really is more than just sexual power. It's our overall power taken from us. And I think that it's been interesting. You are one of kind of the first women I've talked to that the way that you talk about the orgasmic energy and power that you can have from, because you, I think, have had a different but similar experience to me, feeling them, finding it, and then seeing how it transforms you. It is kind of mind-blowing. And to be doing it at my age when everyone is saying, oh, you're going through perimenopause, you're going to dry up anyways. And I'm not drying up, Ali. I am not drying up. I am actually lighting up more than I ever have in my life. And that experience was just, so to share it feels whew. Just gonna have another drink.
Thank you. Have another sip. Thank you for sharing. It was so beautiful, and I know that you sharing that experience, has brought up big things for you. And I also know that that's going to be deeply connecting to a lot of women listening and realizing the depth. And when you talk about the importance of connecting to this, that's it right there. And I went into this purely because I wanted to, two things: increase my libido and feel my orgasm and feel fucking pleasure without a vibrator. That's all I thought was my core things. And that's what most women, come to me. They just want to feel more pleasure, have better sex, increase their libido. But what I didn't realize was what was going to awaken in me by turning this on. And I did a post on social media, a couple of weeks ago or last week, saying, people say it's not all about the orgasms. Now, when you go into this work, you've got to let go of the chase of the orgasm. But when I talk about, when people say it doesn't matter if you've got to have a toy, whatever, and I go, well, hang on, it kind of really is, because an orgasmic woman is a woman who feels fully free and safe in her body. And that is fucking, and I will get emotional talking about this.
Can you repeat that? Will you please repeat? That is such an impactful thing to say.
An orgasmic woman is a woman who feels fully free and safe in her body.
That's fucking, that is.
And yes, and that is why it's, yes, that's why it's so fucking important. And a woman who is an orgasmic woman who is a woman who is living as who she came here to be. She's not suppressing parts of her. She's not stifling parts of her which reflect as a stifled orgasm, stifled sexual fire. She is living as that woman. So yes, orgasms are everything, not in the fact of let's chase the orgasm. That's the actual key of dropping into this, is not chasing the orgasm, but tapping into that place where your orgasm lives is fucking everything, because it's a woman awakening to who she really is. And she's not stifling to fucking meet the needs of the world. She's living fully expressed. She feels safe in her body, safe to be in her body, safe to be vulnerable in her body in the presence of another. And that kind of woman who taps into this is a fucking, powerful, free, expressed woman. And fucking oath, that is important. Fucking oath. And I've been in the post that I wrote on social media that I was talking about, and I said, I've fucking been there. I've been there for over 30 years of my life, where I was, completely relying on a vibe to feel pleasure as my little gateway into feeling some kind of aliveness. And hands down, I will choose this fucking thing any day, not because of just the orgasms. The orgasms are just the fucking symptom and the side effect. The pleasure, the libido, they're just symptoms of what you are or aren't suppressing within you. And I would choose this any fucking day of the week, because I am fully aligned with who I came here to be. I'm unapologetic in who I am, unapologetic in my expression, my sexual desires, all of that. And as a result of that, that's why I'm orgasmic. That's why I feel my fucking pleasure. And that's why I'm so fucking turned on to life and who I am.
That's what I want people to understand. And I think it's so, and if you're listening and you're like, I don't know, that's so much, I'm not keeping up with it, I get it. But God, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that and put it on loop and share it on loop, because what you just said is so profound. It is true. Your lack of ability to be orgasmic and to feel those things is representative of so much more. And I love that you said that all of those things, having the higher libido, is a symptom, and it's it's great. It's like a bonus, but it's not what's really happening inside of you, which is fucking feeling safe and at home in your body. Look, women, if that doesn't speak to you, because I don't know many women who haven't struggled with that. I just don't know very many women. What a gift. But even more than that, like all of that, being an orgasmic woman, being able to tap into that is because you are becoming your true authentic self and who you are meant to be, which brings me back to the beginning of the fucking podcast when we talked about how the minute you come out of the womb, like, I believe at that point we all have the ability to be orgasmic, and starting from that moment, we are systematically taught things that keep us from becoming orgasmic women, because it actively oppresses us and keeps us from being the fully powerful beings that we are. Because I'm telling you, when I was having that moment in bed this weekend with you, not with your consent, I apologize, but
I consent. I fully give my consent.
I definitely had this moment. I had this moment of like, what the fuck is this? This thing feels so big, and it was. I know it sounds ridiculous. I know that some of my listeners are like, she's fucking lost it, maybe, whatever. But no, probably. But if this is the way I'm losing it, fucking cheers. I'm just saying.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. This is how I'm going crazy.
To losing it in the orgasm.
Right, I'll take it.
I've rubbed off on you with the crazy loony.
Oh, I blame you.
Blame me. Put it all
I know. I sit and watch your videos, and it is interesting. One of the things I've noticed, I think women get really defensive. Like, I use vibrators and stuff like that, and I think that women get defensive because you very much speak to the fact that you believe strongly that no woman should have to depend on a vibe for an orgasm. And I want, as someone who, I've got lots of vibes, I definitely share a lot of links to vibes. But what I want to say is that I am in alignment with you on this. I do think that for me, the different vibrational tools have helped me as a gateway into being orgasmic. But if you think that for a moment, I don't think that ultimately what I want to be able to do is, go hit it with my partner and fuck and not have to have a vibe there to get me to, or even a pleasure air technology. I love those little clit suckers. God damn. Of course, I don't think any woman should have to use anything to get her to where she should naturally, and I believe can naturally get to be orgasmic and really deeply connect with her partner. I don't believe that. And I think that's what you're saying. I think that's what you're saying to people is, I'm not shaming. She's not shaming anybody for vibes, but she's saying just don't feel like if you go on vacation with your partner and you forget your vibe, don't go to panic attack town because you're like, we'll still have a good time banging each other anyways. And we can use, whatever rope we find in the closet. I'm just,
that's it. And I'm all for, I'm all for all sorts, like pleasure in all sorts. But what I'm also all for is women not feeling restricted that there's only one way that they can come. And, and that's what I'm here for. And again, even women who are okay with relying on the toys, that's completely fine. I'm not here to convince. I'm here for the ones who do want to feel more and not be restricted.
Right.
But there is no right or wrong with pleasure, and it's completely personal. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to feel limited and restricted in the ways that you feel pleasure. You can feel the most incredible pleasure and state of orgasmic aliveness that you've never known. I never knew, really. I had this knowing that there was more, but I had no idea what this was truly like. And I just want women to know that that is available to you. It's not something that is only available to a handful of women. We're all energetic beings. And we all have this capacity within us, and it just comes down to reconnecting. That's it. And awakening this fucking orgasmic woman from inside.
Yeah. So some quick questions that I have sitting in the back of my head. A, can you have an internal orgasm without clitoral stimulation?
Me, personally?
Yes. Can you personally?
Yeah. Multi. Now, just again, let me just clarify. So the clitoris actually isn't just the external part for listeners. That's what we always talk about. But the clitoris actually does extend inwards as well. Right. So it's technically, not technically.
The
beam. So the beam. So yes, I can, and I can have multi orgasms, and sometimes I can have orgasms without, even foreplay. When you tap so deeply into your arousal, you're not limited to one certain way. And you can have, and orgasms, some will be more powerful than others for me. Some will be, whatever. And I don't need to judge. I'm just fully present with, oh my God, this is delicious. This is what I'm feeling today. This is what I'm feeling. And then sometimes I'll have, I'll be squirting at the same time as coming, and it'll be fucking out of this world. It'll be whatever. But it's the fact that I feel so free. If you're sitting here listening going, Yeah, but that's fine for her, but not me. Let me fucking tell you, I thought all those thoughts too. Like I said, it was over 30 that I unlocked this. I'm 38 at the end of this month, actually. And it was over 30 that up until over 30 that I thought, oh, that's fine for them, but I don't believe it's just not possible for most of them. And I thought that was me. And when I understood that orgasms are just the energy that exists in your body in every single moment of every single fucking day. And when you start reconnecting to waking up your pussy and your vaginal walls, all of this from desensitization and numbness, you get to feel more than you ever thought possible, and you feel free to enjoy your pleasure in any way possible.
Yeah.
And you become so turned on to life. And I talk about turned on women. And this isn't women that are relying on something to turn them on. They're turned on to their fucking state of aliveness, and then they choose to go into intimacy and pleasure and fucking with their lover, and it feels a million times better because they're already fucking turned on to who they are and their full capability before they even go into that. Right. They're not going into it and expecting, well, my lover should know how to turn this on for me, even though I don't know how to turn this on myself. You're coming in at two humans that are so turned on to their own pleasure that they again get to play with each other and do things that help the other one feel good. And it's just, oh my God, it's fucking soul expanding, time stopping, dimension traveling, incredible.
It's addictive. To wrap up this, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners, give them 2 or 3 just quick tips, what can they do right now to start reconnecting with their body and working to become unapologetic orgasmic women?
Okay, so basically I would love to share my 2 non-negotiables in my life, because people ask me, what do I do? Actually, what do I do to connect to this? And what do I, on the basic level, take people through? Number 1 is all day, every day. When you catch yourself in the loop in your head, come back to the body. So it's starting on the all day, every day to come back in your body. So I'll be driving along and I'll be, looping in my head, and all of a sudden I'll be like, what's going on in my body? And I'll just start connecting. And it's not about pleasure. It's not about this, people get fixated on, well, it's not pleasurable. No, you'll feel the pleasure when you're in your body more. So it's the number 1 is all day, every day. Just notice, I don't know if I said this last time, set your alarms on your phone for people who don't remember. Tune into the body. Do a body scan like we did last time and go, what am I feeling in the body? What am I feeling? Number 2, and I'll give a little technique, I suppose. So when you set aside time to really connect to your body in self-pleasure. Self-pleasure is different to masturbation. Masturbation is goal-orientated. You're going in with the goal of an orgasm. Self-pleasure is learning to be with whatever's alive in the body, and that may not even be pleasure in that moment, but that's how you start feeling more pleasure. But when you go into this, so set your mood in your room as if you're, seducing yourself, but you can start with some techniques to bring more sensation to your vulva and vaginal wall. So externally, I think I showed last time as well, but these are just the basics that I cannot stress enough of what is going to have an impact. Is just repetitive, super light stroking. And then what I'd like to talk about is internally de-armouring. So if you get a pleasure wand, or you can, like I said, you can do it with your fingers. Please, I'm not telling you have to spend money on anything. If you can invest in something, I say glass wand. And there's cheaper ones, there's all different. You don't have to go crystal. I say if you're looking to invest in something, glass wand, and you'll be drawn. You can message me and ask me for help to pick out one, but go with what you're drawn. But start with, set your mood in your room and start internally just pressing. So you're just exploring 1 or 2 fingers, exploring inside. Notice, and you may never have even explored. I know I hadn't. I'd only gone into it, trying to make something happen. I'd never really explored. But then you'll start to notice where areas, may feel tighter or be holding tension. And as I said before, just hold whatever's comfortable and just breathe. And you may be surprised that tears want to flow, or uncomfortableness arises and you just want to fucking run and go and, stuff your face with food to numb that. But just be with whatever arises, And if your body's asking you to move or do something, just do that. Stay with that until it releases or until you've had enough and you come back next time. And this is a really incredible way. And your job in that moment is to notice when you go into your head, and you're never trying to stop going into your head. If you try and stop yourself thinking, you're just thinking. So it's noticing, I'm human and the thoughts are there. Now come back to, what am I feeling? Your job is to try and feel that connection of the finger or the glass wand in that spot. That's how you stay there. And that's totally different to going, okay, I'm putting the vibrator away. Why am I not feeling anything? This is a real deep internal connection, and external when you're doing, but to connect, to awaken more. And can I just say, never enter your vagina until your body is open and ready. And the more you connect, the more you'll understand this. It may not make sense in the beginning, but you want to feel like, even when you do, pull out your glass wands, and okay, I've got my lip gloss here, let's pretend it's a glass wand. I never go straight in there, and I'll start my practice and I'll be stroking on my body and just not even, sometimes it's sensual and sexual and sometimes it's just connecting. And until I feel the point of, I want this inside me, that is when you're starting to respect, pussy and what pussy wants. And this is how you start to expand on your, pleasure and arousal, is you're listening to, and I know this may sound fucking new age and woo-woo to people, and it did to me in the day because I didn't understand. What does it mean? What does it mean? Is she going to give me a sign to invite me in? Is she going to hold up a card, you're welcome to come in?
We're talking about the pussy. Respect the pussy. I love this. Respect the pussy. I can get behind that.
You'll know. But you'll know. And this helps to build the safety and trust in your body. Yeah. That when you start being with someone else, and especially if you've experienced sexual trauma and you may have had talk therapy and you think you're, beyond it, but you can't understand why you can't fully surrender and open to the arousal, in your pussy, in your body in that moment with another, because you've got to build this trust again to, number one, be in your body, which is the daily, all day, every day. Number two, this trust that, your pussy knows that you fully respect. And if you're ever having this contraction and no, we can't go there, that you've got this, safety, that, because the more safe you feel, the more you can surrender to your pleasure. So if pussy in your body knows that you're going to honor its wishes, pussy's wishes, then you're going to be able to surrender in that moment to the pleasure there.
Yeah, that actually makes sense to me as someone who has explored my own body, and as a queer woman who has explored other women's bodies. It is interesting from my experience being with other women, like the woman's vagina will literally balloon when it's aroused. It will literally say, come in. It's pretty fantastic. And it's so funny because even though I've experienced that with partners, like I couldn't conceptualize it with my own body, but that makes sense. Like then practicing, like being your own lover, like know what your body does when it's like, okay, it's time, I'm ready for that. So definitely do check out Ali's links or reach out to her for good tools, toys. I like using the word tool for that kind of exploration, because I think that's really important, and it makes so much sense to me. You think about muscles, even how we learn how to add pressure so that they let go of whatever they're holding. You go and you get massaged, and people are always like, oh yeah, and when she pushed on this muscle it released and I cried. But why can't we understand that with her own fucking vagina, which really holds some of the most important memories, trauma, all of this stuff. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that that you just got two little nuggets of gold, listeners. That great advice. Anyway, Ali, I want to thank you for joining me, and I feel like really, especially after our break, that what you shared about why it's so important for women to at least consider wanting to do this kind of work is Like, that's it, ladies. Go back and start at the halfway point. That should be about at minute 34, 35, and listen and re-listen. It really is about becoming your full, true, authentic, and unapologetic self. And that,
absolutely.
fuck, if there was ever a meaning to life, it's like getting back to what you were when you were born.
Yep.
Unapologetic.
Fucking oath.
Right?
Unfucking apologetic. Unapologetic in who you came here to be and the woman that you came here to be.
Yeah.
And that woman that is fucking alive with orgasms and pleasure and all the juiciness that life has to offer.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Thank you. Social media, TikTok and Instagram are probably my biggest ones. I am on Facebook as well. Ali Gomulka. Search for me there, and I have all my links on there so you understand these pleasure ones that I'm talking about. Have a look, and you'll see heaps of videos of me explaining and teaching all of this and basically lighting the fucking fire under the asses of the women who know they came here for more and are ready to turn on to their orgasmic existence. Thank you for having me once again, Annette. You're amazing, and I just love our conversations.
Yeah, so I will put all of her links. If you scroll down to the notes, you will see them. Note her TikTok and mine always stand to be deleted because, we talk about women's pleasure. I want to remind you where you can find me. Of course, Instagram. You can find me under Locker Room Talking Shots or She Explores Life. My personal Instagram is being Benedetti. Facebook, Locker Room Talking Shots. And She Explores Life. I'm on TikTok. It is Locker Room Talk and Shots podcast. YouTube, where you're going to be hopefully watching this. You may be listening, but if you would like to actually see who Ali is, you can go to Annette Benedetti on YouTube and you can watch us. And I think it's super fun to actually get to see who the guests are. So head over there. I think I have covered most everything. You can, of course, read about Ali on SheExploresLife.com, the website where we've got lots of juicy content. So until next time, well, we'll see you in the locker room. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ring loop.